Grant. Where are we now?
We are in my shop, and this is my personal shop where I build robots and anything that comes to mind.
What does your name mean?
What does my name mean? I don't know, actually. I don't really have a meaning for my name.
Why did you decide to become a robot builder?
I think my interest in robots started when I was really young. And the very first thing was Star Wars. I was 7 years old when Star Wars came out. And so seeing R2-D2 and C-3PO, robots that people interacted with in a very personal way, that were brave and helpful and had personalities. I think when I saw that on screen, it made a big impression on me. And that's where it all started. From there, I was like, I really like robots, and that's what I want to do when I grow up.
What is more exciting, robots or special effects?
I think it's very hard to choose between robots and special effects. And the reason is that the special effects, visual effects, are a business that I was working in for over 10 years. And seeing a visual effect that you've done on screen is so thrilling. And knowing everything that goes into the behind the scenes, that goes into making that effect, and working on a team, that sort of thing, I think, is personally very neat to me. On the other hand, when I build a robot and when I turn it on for the first time, it's like there's it's like I've created a life, and that's a sensation that never gets old. And so when you drive a robot around, it's like you've got a little friend.
Your favorite robot and why?
It's hard to choose my favorite robot. I've worked on so many. R2-D2, Energizer Bunny, BB-8. Also my personal robots for BattleBots. I had a robot called Deadblow that was very successful. And then on MythBusters, we built a new robot just about every week. So I'd have to say it's really hard. It's really hard. Of my personal robots, I think Deadblow was the one the first one that I designed entirely myself. That the whole concept, the execution, everything was the very first time I was making it without any input from anybody else. And so I think that one holds a special place in my heart, particularly because I had so much fun. Even after building the robot, you fight the robot against other robots, and I think that was a great experience.
Nice. Can you show me your new robots?
Yeah, there's a few that I'm working on here. This is BB-8 from Star Wars, and this is a personal robot. Now, I used to work in special effects for Industrial Light and Magic, and I worked on the real R2-D2 for the prequels. But this one is a fan build. So this is I didn't work on Force Awakens or any of the new trilogy, but I saw BB-8 at a video from Star Wars Celebration, and at that moment, it brought back all of the magic of robots. I was like, oh man, I have to build one of these for myself. And so using my skills and my experience, I put together this. And of course, with the help of the BB-8 Builders Club, which, there's an R2-D2 Builders Club, a BB-8 Builders Club. There are various fan clubs around. And so they actually had a lot of the patterns. But I did all the mechanics and electronics myself. Here we have a couple R2s under construction. Those are personal ones. And then the robots that I'm working on right now, I'm currently consulting for Disney Research. And so those are going to be next generation robots that will do some very special things eventually, hopefully in Disney parks around the world. And unfortunately, that's all I can say about that at the moment.
Wow, thank you. Tell me more about White Rabbit project in the Netflix.
So Netflix had been running MythBusters for a number of years, and it was a really, really popular show. And their agreement was sort of coming to an end. And so they said, well, because MythBusters is so popular among so many people, we'd like to have something like MythBusters. And so Carrie Byron, Tori Belleci, and I, who used to be hosts on the show, had already left the show. And so they said, oh, well, you guys aren't doing a whole lot at the moment. How about we put together a show that's kind of like MythBusters, that uses your skill set and your experience to tell new stories? And so, yeah, there was a lot of development that went into the show, and then we filmed for about 6 months. And there's 12 episodes, I believe, on Netflix. You can watch it right now.
And what is your favorite episode, and why?
I think my personal favorite episode of White Rabbit Project is probably the one called Dude, Where's My Hoverboard? And the reason is that I built a working hovering platform using drone parts. And it was probably one of the most terrifying things that I've done in my life, test flying that particular thing. So it's not like, a hoverboard with the 2 wheels that balances. This is an actual hovering platform. And the thing that's terrifying about it is that it started out with 8 propellers, 29 inches long each, and stability was kind of a problem because basically you start on the ground, you power up, the thing jumps off the ground, and then it starts drifting one way or another. So originally I had 8 props, and it wasn't quite enough, so I doubled the number of props. And the first time I tested that, it flew off the ground so quickly, I screamed, I shut off the power, and I crashed. Otherwise, it would have flown me right into the ceiling. So when we finally filmed it, it had what we call a dead man switch, a foot switch. In case I stepped off of the platform, it would just kill power to all the props so they wouldn't slice me into a million bits. And we fired it up. It worked, but it was really unstable. So once I got airborne, I would start drifting towards the wall, towards the lights, towards the crew. And so a terrifying but also a very rewarding experience.
Cats or dogs? Why?
Wow, that's a tough question. Cats, and the reason cats, I like them both. As a matter of fact, I remember on MythBusters, Carrie had 2 little dogs that were my favorites. My favorite dog is a French bulldog, but currently I have a cat, and my cat Dipper is a little tuxedo cat. She's very cute. She's about 4 years old, and we've had Dipper ever since she was a kitten. So I have to say I like them both, but currently I'm leaning towards cats.
Star Wars or Terminator?
Ooh, Star Wars. Star Wars definitely has a special place in my heart. I mean, I do love the whole Terminator series, and certainly as a story, it's incredibly compelling. But Star Wars, I think, was one of my first loves, and it continues to be something that's very important to me, obviously.
R2-D2 secrets. Can you share some?
R2-D2 secrets. I can share some. There are, so for a period of time, R2 was played by a little person by the name of Kenny Baker, and he would actually have a special R2 unit that he would get inside of. And that had in the foot pods, in the 2 foot pods, it had little boots that you would zip up. And he would crouch down inside of the R2 unit and move the head with his hands and move the little hollow eye. And then there were robotic ones. Now, the way that you can tell between a Kenny Baker one and a robotic one is you count the legs. So 2 legs are the Kenny ones, and 3 legs are the robotic ones. And there are a number of R2s. It's not just one R2 unit. At one time, we had 9 total units. And the reason you have so many is that certain ones have certain jobs. So the one that you use the most is called the hero unit. And so there's a hero A and a hero B. That way you have a backup in case something goes wrong. But then you also have running units. And a running unit is a very fast one. But you don't use the fast one all the time. When you're in close quarters next to an actor, you don't want to run over their foot accidentally. So that's the hero unit's kind of slow. The fast ones are if you have people running through a hangar. You can follow them. There's fast A, fast B, and then you have your Kenny units, stunt units, and the list goes on and on.
Your favorite color and why?
My favorite color is black. And the reason I like black, which I wear almost all the time, is that it hides coffee, it hides grease, and it hides blood pretty well, which when you're building a lot of robots, all of those liquids come into contact with your clothing on a constant basis.
Your chief characteristic?
My chief characteristic? I think that if I were to describe myself, I am first and foremost a builder. I'm an engineer. And so what I do all day, every day, and what I'm good at is solving problems and finding solutions. So I think that the chief characteristic is being tenacious and not giving up on a problem and working on it until I come to a solution.
Your favorite hero in fiction?
Ooh, favorite hero in fiction? Let me think for a second. Okay, yeah. My favorite hero in fiction has to be Tony Stark. And this is the guy that I identify with the most because he, personally, he's an engineer. He builds things. He's got a high-tech suit of armor. He's well-versed in robotics and mechanics and electronics. So when I think of a hero that I would like to be like, I think of Tony Stark.
Your favorite word?
Wow. Okay, hang on for a second. Let me think, because I use a lot of words, and to pick a favorite word, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Favorite word. Give me a second. I'll come back to it.
Okay. Will robots replace humans?
I get asked this question a lot, being someone who not only is well versed in robotics, but also a person that speaks to a lot of people in technology. And the answer that I can come to at the moment is perhaps, because everybody always asks, are the robots going to take our jobs? The thing about robots is that, and I think what makes people afraid of them, is that they're very precise, they don't get tired, they can do repetitive tasks over and over and over again with very few mistakes. But the thing is, when people think about robots, they always look at them from the people perspective. But consider for a moment, from a robot's perspective, what a person is like. So, usually in industrial robotics, you have one arm that does something. Let's compare that to a human. A human has 2 arms, which your hand is called a dexterous grasper. They have 2 dexterous graspers that work in concert with no reprogramming whatsoever. You can, in real time, process stereoscopic vision, stereo audio, and you can make decisions that value-based decisions and common sense decisions based on the input that you have. These are all things that are very difficult for robots to do. Not to mention, humans usually come with their own power source. You bring your lunch. It's easy. If you're installing a robot in what they call a green grass installation, which is a brand new factory, okay, you can plan for robots. You can lay out the infrastructure for high voltage, high current lines. If you're replacing humans in an existing factory, which is called a brown grass installation, you might not have all of that infrastructure, which means if you're interested in putting robots in, you've got to suddenly rip up all kinds of concrete, have a pad, lay probably a new block for every robot that you're going to use, not to mention running air lines, power lines. It's a lot of investment versus having a guy or having two guys or three guys. So when you look at it from that perspective, I think humans still have a fighting chance, at least for a long time.
Your idea of happiness?
I think my idea of happiness is being in my shop, building things, things that I think of, or something that I have an idea about to solve a problem. Because usually, 9 times out of 10, I will look at a situation or something that exists and think, you know what? It would be better if it did this or it had this. And 9 times out of 10, it's not something I can go on Amazon and just go and buy. Most of the time, it's something that doesn't exist. And so when I have a situation like that, I go, that's awesome. I'll just go into my shop and make it.
If not yourself, who would you be?
That's a good question. If I weren't myself, actually I have thought about this, and I think most people have, because where you are at this point in your life is based on a series of choices. Some of the choices are based on situations that come completely random. So that's a collection of decisions over time. The good news is I like who I am now and what I've done with my life and the decisions that I've made. So it's tough to say what if I hadn't gone to USC, University of Southern California? What if I hadn't found my mentor, Tom Holman, who was working for Lucasfilm? And what if I didn't ask him for an internship, which then led me to work at THX? And if I hadn't met people that worked at ILM, and if I hadn't asked them to help me get a job there. So it's the answer is I'm not sure who I would be if I weren't me, but I do like all of the choices that I've made to get here.
Are you single?
I am single, yes.
So your favorite word?
My favorite word, opportunity.
Do you like my accent?
Your accent is awesome. I wish I had an accent like that.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.